What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. YouTube sensation and boxing novice Jake Paul. He was able to get a victory last night when he was able to defeat former MMA fighter Paul-Woodley via split decision. One judge had it 75, well, the first judge had it 75-73 for Jake Paul. The other judge had it 75-73 for Paul-Woodley. And the third judge had it 76-72 for Jake Paul. He was able to get his fourth professional win, 0 losses. He has 3 knockouts. This was by far his toughest test, man. Paul-Woodley, who does not a boxer. Let me just put it like that. He's not a boxer, but he's a guy that has a lot of heart, a lot of grit. And as he said before the press conference, or at the press conference, that he's had 30 street fights. And it looked like that, man. He's a street fighter, basically. And he was able to basically turn it into almost like a street fight, man. And he was able to make it very uncomfortable for Jake Paul. Now, I had to fight 4 rounds to 4. I had it a draw, but I had no problem with Jake Paul getting the decision. It was a lot of close rounds. It was a lot of rounds, especially that second round, man. Neither fighter deserved to win that round, man. That was just one of them rounds. I gave it to Jake Paul because he just threw more punches, but neither fighter did any significant damage in that second round. But I think that was the difference in Jake Paul getting the draw, because if Paul-Woodley would have been a little bit more assertive in that second round, he probably would have pulled that fight out of my eyes, because I thought he actually won more rounds. I think I had Jake Paul up 2 rounds to 0. I had him winning the first 2 rounds. So I had him up 2 rounds after the second round. And if, like I said, that second round was hard to give that round to anybody. You know, back in the day, I think they used to do 10 rounds. You know, they don't do that now, man. You got to give that round to somebody. And I had to give it to Jake Paul just off of activity. Now, Jake Paul did a good job of controlling distance. He was able to hit the, basically keep Paul-Woodley at bay. Now, he's going to have to start learning how to roll punches, because when Paul-Woodley was throwing that right hand and check left hook, he was catching them flush. You got to be able to, even when you see those punches coming kind of late and you ain't able to duck it, you got to be able to roll those punches. That's something that he's going to have to pick up. Now, some fighters never do that. I'm not saying it's something that he's going to do, or if he don't do it, he's going to have a short career, but because a lot of fighters that have been fighting for a long time don't know how to roll punches. And I saw that as a problem in this fight. Another thing with Jake Paul, man, he did a good job of catching, throwing that right hand, man. He was telegraphing it. Early on, he was landing the right hand, and he was landing it at times, but he was telegraphing it a little bit too much. Paul-Woodley was able to see it coming from a mile away, and he was able to duck a lot of those shots. And he tried to make adjustments as the fight go on. He started trying to throw that little check left hook, and he landed that left hook at times as Paul-Woodley got a bead on that right hand. But the bottom line was Paul-Woodley did not let his hands go enough. When you look at the final punch stat, Paul had 72 punches landed, and Woodley had 51 punches landed. Even though I think Woodley probably landed the more devastating punch. And he actually got robbed of a knockdown in that fight, as the ropes held Paul up. And the referee made the decision that it was not a knockdown. He let the fight continue, man. But if it wasn't for those ropes, man, he'd have fell clear out the ring, man. He'd have been laying in somebody's lap. One of those rich people, one of those people with them high dollar seats. He'd have been in their lap, live and in living color. You know what I'm saying? So that cost Woodley. If they would have ruled that a knockdown, he would have won the fight on my card. He would have won the fight by 1 point if he would have been awarded that knockdown. He wasn't awarded that knockdown, and that was the reason why I had to fight a draw, man. It was a solid fight. The atmosphere, I was at a sports bar watching that fight. The atmosphere was very electric going into that fight. They had a pretty good undercard, man. Now, Tyson Fury, little brother, let me do a quick synopsis on him. He got a lot to work on. Very mechanical. He should have got that guy. That guy he fought was at least 2 weight classes below him, man. He's like a light heavyweight. The other guy was a middleweight at best, man. And he wasn't able to get that guy out of there. He had the height, he had the reach, he had the size, he had the power. He had everything in his favor, man. He should have been able to stop that guy, at least knock that guy down. He wasn't able to do that. Very, very mechanical, very, very slow in my opinion. He's got some fundamentals that's in his favor, man. But I think Jake Paul's gonna beat him because Jake Paul is more fluid. He's got, I ain't gonna say the man got fast twitch muscle. I ain't gonna use that Max Kellerman saying, but he's much more elusive. He's much more fluid than Tommy Fury, man. I think that'd be the difference. As long as he don't get clipped, that being Jake Paul, he should be able to beat Tommy Fury, man. That's that guy. Both of these guys are novices now, so anything can happen. But what I seen last night, man, Jake Paul should take that fight next, man. A lot of people are like, Tommy Fury will beat Jake Paul. Jake Paul ain't no real fighter. Tommy Fury ain't no great fighter either, man. He's a novice. You're looking at 2 boxing novices. I think Tommy Fury had 10 amateur fights, so it ain't like he's some experienced, seasoned fighter. So that would be a very good fight, and he'll do a lot of good numbers on pay-per-view. He would do good numbers over in the UK and do good numbers over here in the USA. So I think that'll be the next fight to make. And we will see what happens. We will see what transpires. But the bottom line was Jake Paul won this fight because he was able to control distance for the most part. He was able to pot shot Tyron Woodley from the outside, and he was able to maneuver and basically control the fight off of ring generalship alone, as Tyron Woodley did not do a good job of cutting the ring off. He was able to land a jab at times, and that jab he was landing was a very stiff jab, and he kind of backed up Jake Paul when he landed. But Tyron Woodley was too stiff-legged, very stiff-legged, man. You could tell he was an MMA fighter. And then he was using his head a lot. The referee didn't warn him. They use their head a lot in the MMA as they try to pin their opponent against the cage, and they use their head as leverage. It's basically, he was doing that a lot in that fight, man. But I think the turning point for Tyron Woodley was at the end of the third or fourth round when he landed that straight right hand. He hurt Paul badly. Luckily that round was over, and I think after that he kind of rode that momentum, and he kind of was walking down Jake Paul. He was stalking Jake Paul, and he made it just a real grimy type of fight, like he's a street fighter. He almost made it like a street fight, made it a real fight of test of wheels, a real I'm gonna test your heart, right, type of fight. And that's what he's able to do. And Jake Paul was able to pass that test, and he was able to survive. He had some shaky moments, but he was able to survive and win a fight, a very, very close fight, and an entertaining fight. When you look at both guys are not experienced in the fight game, in the boxing game, the sweet science. It was a very, very entertaining fight. Quick synopsis on Montana Love. Man, it's my first time watching this guy. This guy put on a boxing clinic, end up stopping Barnachek. Barnachek need to fire his manager for putting him in a fight like that. After putting on a great performance against the Paid Fight of the Year back in 2020, for you to put this guy in there with a slick, moving boxer, technical skills, is just not a good decision. And he got outboxed, man. He was swinging for the fences, telegraphing his shot, and Montana Love was able to slip and dip, catch him with the straight left hands, jabs, and basically was timing him, counter punching him, and that's how he was able to get that stoppage, get the TKO, man. He caught him throwing a wide shot, attempting to throw a hook, and he was able to come in with a short, accurate punch, and he never saw that punch Barnachek, and that was the end of the day for him, man. Great, great performance. He called out Gervonta Tank Davis after the fight. He called out, who else? Josh Taylor after the fight. He's in line to get a big fight. I don't know if he gets a fight with the champions, but he's definitely getting in line with probably a top 5, top 10 type of lightweight in his next fight. So we will see what happens. We will see what transpires. But I don't think Gervonta Davis is gonna fight him. They're not trying to fight no boxers right now. They try to build their fighter's name up off of Latino fighters. That's how Floyd came up. They're gonna do the same thing with Gervonta Tank Davis. So look for guys like Rolly Romero. Maybe they might go revisit the Tevin Farmer fight. That fight got a lot of history, real beef. I think it's probably one of those two guys for his next fight. So don't look for him to fight no Montana Love, man. That guy's a guy, even if you beat him, it's going to be hard to look good against that guy, man. He did get caught with some shots, though. Barnachek caught him some shots when he lost focus. If that had been Tank Davis, he probably got knocked out. So only thing I see that Montana Love need to improve was his focus. He just needs to stay focused. He stay focused and box and fight his game, he going to be a problem for anybody in the lightweight division. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But my opinion, Jake Paul beats Tommy Fury by decision if they fight. I think he beats him by decision. He outpoints him. He's a little bit more fluid. Long as Tommy Fury is not able to clip him, I think Jake Paul beats him. Let me know your thoughts about this fight last night. Let me know your thoughts about Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. And subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.